Hey everybody, welcome back to A Matter of Life and Maiden, the podcast of the Beast. I am Joe Labriola, and this is episode 46 of the podcast. I've been trying to do these episodes pretty much monthly now, trying to get at least one episode out a month. And the last one I did was for Bruce's birthday on August 7th, so it's early October now. It's October 4th today, so I didn't get a chance to really do anything for September. I was just super busy. September is my birthday month. It was a busy time at work, learning new stuff and getting things switched around. But it was a good month. September. I'm actually going to talk about September in this podcast episode today, episode 46, and this kind of ties into the life aspect of A Matter of Life and Maiden, where early on in the podcast, when Matt and I were doing the individual album reviews, we talked about on a couple episodes how there's like this weird connection with Maiden with our birth month and our birth dates. You know, Matt's born in May 28th. My birthday is September 17th. We were both born in 1986. And it's kind of weird how, in my mind anyway, we kind of relate to the albums that our birth months are in, like unknowingly, like subconsciously. It's so weird. It's like Matt's favorite album from Iron Maiden is Peace of Mind. First song he ever heard was The Trooper. Dave Murray's his favorite guitarist in the band. Matt's style was very much Dave Murray-esque when he used to shred on his guitar. And that album came out in May, and Matt was born in May. So it's kind of weird. And then my favorite albums, so to speak, the albums that I relate to the most, are ones that came out in September. In particular, for me, if we're going back to the 80s stuff, Power Slave, and in particular, Somewhere in Time. It's probably my most relatable album. I said that all the time on the podcast. And Adrian's my favorite guitarist, and that's Adrian's album. That came out September 29th, and I was born on the 17th. And I think it's weird, actually thinking about it. I think Peace of Mind came out May 16th. Matt's born on May 28th, so it came out 12 days before his birthday. My album, Somewhere in Time, came out September 29th, which is 12 days after my birthday. It's just weird, like these little synchronicities that are there. So it's interesting, but I want to dive in and I want to talk about September. As I said, I just turned 39 years old. September 17th, 1986 is my birthday. Maiden has been a huge inspiration for me my entire late teen years, all the way through my 20s and my 30s now. So 20 plus years. I mean, we're going on 21 years here. 21 years here as a Maiden fan. And it's crazy to think this, and I know I talked about this in the last episode when I was talking about Bruce's birthday, but to kind of do a touchstone to Bruce too and kind of piggyback off of that last episode, he just played in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Matt and I are from Altoona, Pennsylvania. It's about an hour and a half outside of Pittsburgh. An hour and a half east of Pittsburgh is where we're at. So Pittsburgh's west from us. But he's on this like Chris Jericho podcast now, the wrestler from WWE, and I happen to be a huge WWE fan. I like Chris Jericho. Shawn Michaels is my favorite wrestler of all time, for all you WWE fans out there, and I'm a huge Macho Man Randy Savage fan too. I love all the old Attitude Era guys, Triple H, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, and all the legends too. You know, like Lex Luger, Ric Flair, The Undertaker, Kane, Batista. The list goes on and on and on and on for all these guys. But he's wearing a Pittsburgh Steelers hat when he's doing this talk with Chris Jericho, and the Steelers in Pittsburgh sports are like my thing. I'm from Pennsylvania, right? So it's like the Steelers, the Penguins, the Pirates. Bruce sung the national anthem at the Pittsburgh Steelers game a couple weeks ago at their home game at Acrisure Stadium. He played in Pittsburgh the day after my birthday on September 18th, 2025 this year at Stage AE. So like, it's super surreal to see like all those things of mine kind of like conjoining together and making this thing. And there's like, I posted a picture on the Instagram page of A Matter of Life and Maiden, and it's like, man, this is so surreal, you know. And a couple friends commented on it. Seventh son of a seventh son. He's a guy who follows the podcast. Give him a follow. Check his content out. Really nice dude. Really cool content. Super huge love and adoration for Iron Maiden. He's very much like me, and a lot of the other Maiden fans around the world. Who, I mean, we just adore this band. They're like a part of life for us. They're like woven into the very fabric of our lives. And he has this really cool 17 Days of Iron Maiden story going around where you post a song from every album. So hit that up if you haven't yet. I just did it today. I just discovered it. I did Phantom of the Opera. Dropped it on for day one for Iron Maiden, the original album. So if you get a chance, head over there to his Instagram, check it out. It's at Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Check out the story on A Matter of Life and Maiden right now, and you can follow that. But to continue about what I'm talking about today, September as a month, I always love when my birthday comes around, and I said this on the podcast before, September for me, because there's so many Maiden releases that have come out around September, like my birth month, and it's very cool to me and very interesting to me. So to start it off, September album Anniversaries, the big one, the first one, number one is Power Slave. It was released September 3rd, 1984, which makes it 41 years old as of 9/3/25. 41 years old this record is. I can remember when I was listening to this record in 2004, 2005, and at that point it was only like 20 years old. It's double the age now, over double the age. It's crazy, but it's kind of like what I said before. I've been listening to Maiden for a very, very long time. It's hard to believe. But the reality is, for the last 20 years, they shaped me into the person I am. I started playing guitar because of Iron Maiden, getting into Iron Maiden. I had a Black Cherry SG. I still love SGs. They're like one of my favorite guitars, SGs, Strats, and Les Pauls, because of Iron Maiden. I mean, I have huge inspirations from other bands too. I love Richie Blackmore. I love Tony Iommi. I love Eddie Van Halen. I love Jimmy Page, Jeff Beck, all those guys too, Jimi Hendrix. All these different people, all the people who played in the Dio band, all the people who played with Sabbath, all the people who played with all these different bands. I love Rainbow. All that stuff that they touch, but the reason I love that music is because of Iron Maiden. I started listening to Maiden, and I started going down these other avenues, and I said this before in the podcast, tributaries, and I found these little rivers, and then they turned into lakes, and then they turned into oceans. The more and more I dived in, and I started loving all this discography, it's because of Iron Maiden. And Power Slave, for me, is a huge ocean to dive into. I mean, it's an album that encapsulates me as a person, a huge part of it. And I'm not trying to brag about myself, but I'm a very diverse person. I'm very eclectic. I like a lot of different things. I love antiquity. I love science fiction. I love music. I love art. I love tabletop gaming. I love fantasy and role playing and Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering and movies and comic books and all this really cool nerdy stuff. I also love target shooting. I like, manly stuff too. I like to target shoot. I like to play football. I like to play hockey. I like to play basketball. I like to work out. I like to lift weights. I was a bodybuilder for a long time. Like, these things are all part of what make Maiden so interesting to me and awesome to me. And it's because they're people just like me. They really fleshed me out of my shell. I was a very timid and shy kid growing up. I didn't have a lot of interest when I was super young. I played video games. That was pretty much it. I was a gamer, and I like cartoons. And I like fantasy and stuff like that too, but I didn't really fully immerse myself into it and embrace it and start to actually put it into practice every day until I discovered these guys, until I became a teenager, until I started lifting weights, until I started coming out of my shell. Maiden helped me do that. Playing the guitar and picking up an instrument and allowing me to express myself helped me do that. And I do it regularly every day now. I play guitar constantly. I have 15 or 16 different guitars laying around. And it's because of these guys. And Power Slave, again, like I said, it's hard to believe it's 41 years old. This album in particular, I talk about it all the time. The artwork, the iconography about it, the themes, Ram the Ancient Mariner, in my mind, the greatest song of all time, the greatest heavy metal song ever written. I think it's the greatest thing Iron Maiden has ever done. I don't think it's ever going to be topped ever again. And I look look forward to seeing these guys play this damn song again on the Run for Your Lives tour, because it would be so cool to have seen that as my first song. The show I was at, Izod Arena, 2008 in East Rutherford, New Jersey, is on the Flight 666 record. It's on the DVD. It's on the concert. I was there. The song they chose was Rhyme. It's my favorite Iron Maiden song. It's amazing. And to see it again, and I know we're not supposed to record in this new thing. Maiden wants us not to record stuff, but I'm just going to say it now. I'm probably going to slip up, and I'm like, you know what? If I record any damn thing in this concert, it's going to be Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. All 13 or 14 minutes of it, depending on how fast they play it. I want every second of that song to be like, yes, I haven't seen this song live since 2008, 17 years ago. Well, by the time they play this year, it's going to be 18 years ago. 18 years ago, it's getting recorded. I mean, it's just that simple. This is simple. Sorry, guys. Sorry, Eddie and the boys. But that's my life. Like, that's my song. I feel like you wrote that shit for me. It's that encapsulates a huge part of who I am as a musician, as a person, my interests, English literature, British literature, antiquity, ancient Egypt. I'm an antiquarian. I love Greece and Rome and Egypt and all these different things. I took ancient Greek in college as a language. I still write it occasionally. I still get my my lexicon out, my ancient Greek dictionary and stuff out, and I look through stuff because I'm just obsessed with it. Like, it's awesome. You can't take ancient Greek on Duolingo. You can't find it. You gotta you still gotta research that kind of stuff. Well, Latin's on there. I think they have Latin. They don't have ancient Greek. It's weird. They have regular Greek. It'd be really cool to find ancient Greek. But with that aside, that leads me into the next record. I talked about it at the beginning of this episode, Somewhere in Time. It came out September 29th, 1986. It just turned 39 years old 12 days after I did. And again, as of 9/29/25, it's 39 years old. And as of 9/17/25, I turned 39 years old. So it's very, very cool. It's very cool and very surreal. Just, again, what I mentioned, Alexander the Great. What an amazing anthem. Antiquity. I wrote my undergrad thesis paper on Alexander the Great. It ended up being 50-some pages. And my mentor, one of the greatest teachers, one of the greatest humans I ever met, like a genius, Dr. Steve Andrews from Penn State University. The guy just retired January earlier this year. I mean, huge inspiration in my life too. He was pissed off because I wrote so many pages. He's like, dude, this was only supposed to be 35 pages. And I was like, sorry. I ended up writing like 58 pages or so. But it was great. He read it and he was like, this is fucking amazing. This is an amazing research paper. He's like, I think you should amend this and take it with you to grad school and do it again. So I did. And then I ended up editing some things, chopping things up, making it a little bit bigger, expanding it, and ended up being like 75 pages, 78 pages, another 20-some pages when I was done with it for grad school, with a nice like 30 to 35 page annotated bibliography. So these are parts of, like I said, who I am as a person. And these records, these two in particular, just because of where I come from, because Blade Runner is my favorite science fiction movie, because my favorite areas to study in history are antiquity, Rome, Greece, Egypt, ancient Rome, Greece, Egypt. There's no mistaking the influence from Iron Maiden that I get from that. Why did I go down these avenues? Was it because I saw the imagery on these album covers and I happen to be a huge comic book fan too? I mean, yeah, probably. I was like, well, what's this shit? You see Cyborg Eddie, you see Mummy and Pharaoh Eddie. It hits a part of your soul that it's irreplaceable. I can't even explain to you. It's unfathomable what these two records in particular, and really the band Iron Maiden, have done for my life. It's who I am. And that's why it's so sad when you see Nico hanging it up, and you see, Bruce getting old, and you see these guys. Bruce is the youngest member in the band, and he's 67 years old. He just turned 67 back in August. It's crazy to think that. And the rest of the guys are in their late 60s and their early 70s. It's nuts to see your heroes get old, but they're human beings. But I say this all the time. They continue to push forward, they continue to chug, and they continue to do this. Next album, after Somewhere in Time, I got my antiquity fix and my ancient Egypt and British literature fix with Power Slave. I got my ancient Greek fix and sci-fi, Caught Somewhere in Time, Stranger in a Strange Land, Deja Vu kick with Somewhere in Time. And again, having the ability as a fan and the privilege to have seen half of half of these records live performed for me in front of me. I mean, astounding. I don't know how many people can say that. There's so many people around the world who love Iron Maiden and they've seen them once and it's been the best thing ever just because there's places they can't get to. For me, just to be so privileged and fortunate to have I've seen Aces High numerous times. I've seen 2 Minutes to Midnight. I've seen Power Slave. I've seen Rhyme. I mean, that's half the record. That's half the record. And, Bruce is playing Flash of the Blade on his solo tour. Like, it's unbelievable. And having never thought in a million years that I would ever see really hardly anything from Somewhere in Time besides Wasted Years, because they always played it. They played Wasted Years and Heaven Can Wait the first time I saw them. I thought, that's it. I'm never going to see anything else. And then when they do the Future Past tour, they're playing all the shit that I wanted to see. And the first time they ever played Alexander the Great, having seen Caught Somewhere in Time, Wasted Years, Heaven Can Wait, Stranger in a Strange Land, and Alexander the Great. I mean, what more could I ask for as a fan? These are the two albums that shaped me in the early 2000s, the early to mid 2000s, and then the latter portion of the 2000s, especially after when I saw Somewhere Back in Time, and it really got me hooked on stuff outside of Power Slave, really got me hooked on Somewhere in Time and Seventh Son a lot. I mean, what more could you ask for as a fan? And the fact that these albums came out in my birth month, it's a constant every year. I said this on the podcast earlier when I talked about this. Every year when my birthday rolls around, September rolls around, I get excited. When September 1st rolled around, I was listening to this shit. Actually, the end of August, I started listening to stuff. I was like, yep, the anniversary's coming up. Yep, the anniversary's coming up. And it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable to me. Now, the third album on the list is Dance of Death. That came out on September 2nd, 2003, so it's 22 years old as of 9/2/25. Now, this record for me, again, a little piece of my life and history with the band and this record and what it means to me. Death on the Road was the first Iron Maiden piece of media I ever bought. It was the first official piece of media I ever bought. I bought it at the Altoona Circuit City when I was still here. Altoona, Pennsylvania, Circuit City. And it was like the greatest thing ever. I remember just putting it in and being like, wow. And Matt and I did an episode where we talked about Death on the Road and how amazing it is. And I talked about how, I stressed how the difference between Death on the Road and Rock in Rio is that Death on the Road really encapsulated the new songs. The energy there for the Dance of Death songs was just amazing. And it's not that the energy wasn't there for the other stuff either. But Rock in Rio, I mean, Matt really, he took control of that episode. Not that I wasn't there, but I was kind of just echoing his excitement about it. And it was almost like a reverse for the Death on the Road stuff. He was kind of echoing my excitement about that. And it makes sense because, Rock in Rio was like the first concert that Matt saw of Iron Maiden. It was the first thing that he bought. That's what he turned me on the band with. He was like, hey, watch these guys. And that was the first concert video I'd ever seen from any band. But Death on the Road was the first one I bought, right? It was like, yes, I love Iron Maiden now. I'm buying it. And I watched it. And then we watched it together. And then we talked about it. And the excitement of how it shaped us. And like I said, again, with the connections. Rock in Rio. Brave New World, that record came out on May 29th. 2000, a day after Matt's birthday. It's weird, this universal connection. It's just the energy and the excitement. It's almost like this weird energy through our birth months and what this stuff is about. It's interesting to me. It really is. But Dance of Death, again, the record itself for the longest time, I liked it a lot. I still don't think it's one of their greatest albums since the reunion. I think everything that they've done since they got back together and became a six-piece has been great to outstanding, or excellent or perfect. But I think Dance of Death is, I feel like it's above the Final Frontier, but I still feel like it's not quite as good as, the other albums. And that's not bashing it. The thing that really makes this one take a step back is the artwork. The artwork is atrocious. If the artwork was, the quality of the other reunion albums, so it could be a 9 out of 10 instead of an 8.5. I think I gave it an 8.5. It could be a 9 out of 10. It could be a 9.1, 9.2 out of 10. It's just a 9.3 out of 10. It's very, very, very underrated, though, I will say that. And I've come to appreciate it more over the years. I really love No More Lies. I love the way it sounds. And another thing about this record, too, in a way that's so weird to me, is I love Renaissance history. Outside of antiquity as being my favorite, ancient Rome, Greece, Egypt, that kind of stuff. I also love medieval history, too. I love Renaissance Italy. It's like one of my favorite areas to study. I love the notion of humanism. I love Giovanni Pico della Mirandola's oration on the dignity of man, that work that he wrote about syncretism and all that beautiful stuff in humanism. Da Vinci, Santi, Buonarroti, all those guys, Donatello, Petrarch, or Francisco Petrarca, whatever you want to call them, those guys, these Renaissance humanists and these philosophers, is a huge area of history that I also adore as well. And the great part about the Renaissance was, the reason I love it is because they took all these ancient ideas and philosophies and tried to combine it with Christianity. It's kind of where humanism came from. And they had this idea of, hey, expand your horizons. Like, be more than what it tells you to be. Like, there's more out there. Open your mind. Open your mind. It was about opening your mind. Humans have the potential to be great. We need to be, if we want to be like God, we have the ability to do that. We just need to be kind to one another. We need to share things with each other. We need to push forward for progress. We need to be progressive. And that's another thing. Very progressive. This is a very progressive record. It's a very progressive band now, too, Iron Maiden. And Dance of Death is an album that has some of the coolest, most interesting, most powerful, most unique songs on it. Dance of Death, the title track, is an example. Passion, though, wow. I mean, unbelievable. Face in the Sand. Some of these songs. Rainmaker is great. Wildest Dreams. This record is very damn good. Very, very damn good. And I've had a lot of experiences with this. And again, having been able to see some of these songs live, it's been 15 years since I've seen them, but absolutely phenomenal to be able to see No More Lies, Wildest Dreams, and Dance of Death live. I mean, absolutely amazing. Passion, though, is the one that I want to see from this. I think it's one of the greatest Iron Maiden songs ever written. I'd love to see it. But Dance of Death, a lot of memories with this record, too. Love the album. And we'll see what happens if they do like another tour after the Run For Your Lives tour. Like I said this before, where they might do the reunion stuff. That would be cool. Stuff from the reunion to the present. Sampling some songs from here or there would be great. After Dance of Death, The Book of Souls. This was released on September 4th of 2015, which means as of 9/4/25, it's 10 years old. This record just turned 10 years old last month. And it's hard for me to believe, and I said this on the Bruce episode when I was talking about his birthday. I can't believe it's been 10 years since this record came out. It literally feels like a year or so ago, a year and a half ago. Like, it does not feel like it's been 10 years since The Book of Souls came out. And again, my experience with this, having the ability to literally, myself, go to an ancient Mayan ruin in Mexico, stand on top of it, like Apocalypto, the movie that Mel Gibson directed, where they're lobbing people's heads off and throwing them down all these stairs so it rains, and you have to make a sacrifice to let your crops grow. The jaguar god, the eagle god, all these different meanings. And having actually experienced that, how is it that this album comes out in September? It's my birth month, and I experienced it. All these interesting things happen to me. It's weird. It's like a universal connection. This is why I love these guys so much. Truly. Having seen 6 songs off of this record live, having seen 6 songs from this, why is it that the albums that are released in September are the songs that I've seen the most shit from? It's weird, right? Isn't that weird? But it's true. And I had, every song from this record, damn near. If Eternity Should Fail, Speed of Light, The Great Unknown, The Red and the Black, Book of Souls, In Death or Glory. Saw 60% of the record for the most part, right? And I think there's 11 songs on here. Excuse me, there's 11 songs on here. But for the most part, I saw damn near the whole record, all the good stuff. So it's unbelievable, and the fact that it was just such a unique show, and Bruce's cancer struggle, and having seen this stuff, and again having experienced literally going to a Mayan temple, then like a year after that, it all just clicked together. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And then finally, the September release of Senjutsu, September 3rd, 2021, which makes this 4 years old as of September 3rd, 2025. Same release date as Power Slave, 9/3. Interesting. The first album released 9/3, Power Slave. The most recent album released 9/3, Senjutsu. Very interesting. Both cultural albums. One is about ancient Egypt, the cover. One is about feudal Japan, the cover, the Eddie. It's cool, right? Isn't that neat? I think they do this stuff on purpose to wrap us in. But Senjutsu, a connection with that again, I was a martial artist for a huge portion of my life. I was a martial artist for about 14 or 15 years. I have a second degree black belt in Tang Soo Do. It's a Korean martial art. But I train with swords. I train with nunchaka. I train with sai. I train with all these different weapons, bow staves. I trained how to take knives from people, how to take guns from people, how to self-defense classes. I sparred with people. I fought with people. I broke cinder blocks. I broke wood, planks of wood, several stacks high, 6 or 7 planks, breaking it with kicks and punches and elbow strikes and all these different things. And yeah, I'm a martial artist, and being in that and that connection, having it with Senjutsu for me. And again, a September album. It's just super interesting. These are all parts of my life. I've been a huge fan of Asian culture too, ever since I was a kid. Growing up and practicing martial arts, led me in that direction. I've always loved Bruce Lee and Jeet Kune Do and his style. I love watching old kung fu movies. One of my favorite things as a kid growing up. And I know, like kid stuff, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Batman is based on a ninja. I mean, watch Batman Begins. He goes to Japan and learn how to fight, like that movie. It's like, I'm a huge Batman fan. It's just these things are all intertwined with who I am as a person. And I'm sure that everybody has their own little niche life part of the whole, a matter of life and Maiden. That's why Matt and I created this podcast, because it's not just about Maiden and their music. It's about how their music and what they talk about and their symbolism and their themes and all that stuff ties into your life and how it affects you. And obviously you can see with me and with Matt in the earlier episodes that we went over and discussed how it touches our lives, how we're intertwined with it. Like I said earlier, the fabric of our lives are interwoven with Iron Maiden's, iconography. Who they are as people, what they like to read about, what they like to talk about, the lyrics they write, the music they play, all that stuff. They're just educated, well-rounded, very eclectic people, just like myself, just like I'm sure a lot of the listeners out there are. Listen to this podcast episode. And again, this album, last year, having seen, this is the album out of every Iron Maiden album. Every Iron Maiden album that's come out, I've seen the most songs from this album. I've seen 7 songs from Senjutsu. There's 10 on the record, and I've seen 7. I've seen the title track. I've seen Stratego. I've seen Writing on the Wall. I've seen Days of Future Past. I've seen The Time Machine. I've seen Death of the Celts, and I've seen Hell on Earth. 7 of the 10 songs on this record. So again, this is another record where I've seen the majority of the songs. And it's surreal to me. It's surreal to me to be a Maiden fan and having these albums come up, like I said again, in September, every month, just to remind me, hey, your birthday's coming up, man. What are you going to listen to this month? And it's like, well, Iron Maiden. Right? And that's where I am. That's where I am as a Maiden fan, where I am as a heavy metal fan, where I am as a fan of all those things I talked about earlier, all the different concepts that are interwoven. That's what makes me love Iron Maiden. It's because they sing about things that I love. They sing about things that remind me of my life. I feel like they're really telling a story. Like I said at the beginning of this episode, when Rhyme the Ancient Mare comes on, it's like, dude, you wrote that song for me. You know, it's like that's how I feel about this band. And they honestly have never let me down. That's one thing about this band that I can say. The only thing that I struggle with is the time between releases of new albums. That's it. They've never let me down as far as the tour is concerned. I've seen damn near everything to a T that I've wanted to see live. You know, give or take a couple songs here or there, but for the most part, hell, I've seen things I never imagined in my wildest dreams I would ever see, and I've been thankful enough to see them not just once but multiple times. I mean, that's amazing. Like, that's amazing to me, and they're just the gift that keeps on giving, and I can't wait to see what they have in store. And lastly, to talk about a couple other things, Final Frontier just turned 15 years old in August. I know we're talking about September releases here, but it is October, so we'll go back a little bit. Final Frontier turned 15 as of August 13, 25. It came out August 13, 2010. So it's hard to believe for me that record's 15 years old. October releases, October 1st, No Prayer for the Dying, the weakest Iron Maiden album in my opinion, you know, but it did turn 35 years old. It came out in 1990, October 1st, 1990. So as of 10/1/25, No Prayer for the Dying is 35 years old. And as of 10/3/25, like yesterday, The X Factor just turned 30 years old. The X Factor just turned 30 years old. It's crazy. 30 years old, The X Factor is. First album with Blaze Bayley after Bruce left. Really, some really great gems on that too. Silent Cross, unbelievable. Having seen that 3 times live, wow. Never would I have ever thought. Never would I have ever thought that. And lastly, and I'm kind of going back, but I'm going to end with this album because this is the album that changed my life. Outside of the first couple I talked about, Power Slave and Somewhere in Time, and then my love just grown from there. This was the first album. This was the one. This was even before Power Slave. This was even before Somewhere in Time. This was the album that I got into the most, even before those records. And that record is A Matter of Life and Death. It came out on August 25th, 2006. As of August 25, this thing's 19 years old. Hard to believe. 19 years old. And I had just got into Maiden a year or two before that. So like I said, a fan for 20 plus years. Almost 21 years. And this record. This is the record that this podcast is named after. This is the record that the whole moral of this episode really is based on. A Matter of Life and Death. A Matter of Life and Maiden. I mean, that's what Matt and I, we were texting each other one day back and forth. What are we going to call the podcast? We had an idea to create something. We were shooting stuff back and forth, and literally almost simultaneously, I mean a millisecond apart from each other, we both texted at the exact same time, damn near, A Matter of Life and Maiden. Based on this record. And it's always been that way. It was supposed to be that way, right? It was supposed to be A Matter of Life and Maiden. It makes perfect sense. But this record, A Matter of Life and Death, I cannot tell you how much this album means to me. And when I said earlier in the episode, I actually started listening to stuff in August to get prepared for September releases. I started listening to A Matter of Life and Death on 8/25. I did. And I wore the crap out of it. I listened to it probably like 10 to 15 times. All the way through, back and forth to work, just hanging out, just sitting around, just laying around. It is the album. And this one, and this is the sad part, here's the part. This is the one that I never got to see the majority of the songs from it that I want to see live. Now, Matt got to see this album played in its entirety. And I should shoot myself in the foot for this because I had to work and I didn't make an excuse. I could have called off sick. I could have did whatever. I told them, I can remember like it was yesterday. I was working at Toys R Us in Altoona, and I was like, hey guys, I don't think I'm going to be in tomorrow. And they're like, Joe, please, we need you really bad. Please don't leave us hanging. And I felt bad. And I should have been like, you know what? I'm out. I'm going to see Maiden. I'm going to go see these 10 songs played live. And from what Matt said about it he said it was absolutely amazing. to see this stuff, live. Now, I think the company he had when he went to see it wasn't as excited about it as he was, so in a way he felt kind of like, yeah, whatever. But every time him and I have went together to see this band, we've always had on the car ride back, whether it be a 2-hour car ride or a 3-hour car ride or a 5 or 6 hour car ride, we've always talked about the concert and how it was and how great it was. And then, I park in front of his house and we sit there and talk some more and more and more. I mean, I literally just drove for East Rutherford, New Jersey show for the Flight 666 DVD, that concert, Somewhere Back in Time tour. I drove from East Rutherford, New Jersey in the pouring rain on I-80 in the middle of the night. If anybody's ever driven I-80, you know how dark it is and there's no lights on it. It's very scary. In a torrential downpour. It took me over 6 hours to get home. It took me almost 7 actually to get home. Back to Altoona, Pennsylvania from East Rutherford, New Jersey after the concert. So we're like, concert's over around midnight. We're waiting for traffic to get out. We don't get out of the parking lot until a little after 1. Then we start driving. 6 or 7 hours to get home to like 8 o'clock in the morning. And even when we got home, we pulled in front of his house and talked for another hour or two about the concert and how amazing it was. Just 10 hours of talking about Iron Maiden straight. And it's little instances like that are the reasons why him and I decided to create this podcast in the first place, because that's what we did. Every time we'd hang out together, we'd talk about music, we'd talk about history, we talk about science fiction, we talk about literature, we talk about comic books, we talk about our favorite things, we talk about music and Dungeons and Dragons and movies and Magic the Gathering, the card game. We were all big fans of that, big players of that. It's what we did. Different guitars, different effects pedals. Wonder what Adrian uses on this. Wonder what Dave does here. Wonder what Yan does here. Wonder what Bruce is doing with his voice, because I would sing and play bass and guitar. And I dabble in drums. Matt was like he's just like Dave. He's just a pure guitar player. Pure. I'm more like Adrian. Adrian dabbled with the vocals and stuff for a while. When he was in the band Urchin, before he joined Iron Maiden, I sing and play. Those are my strengths. I can play bass too. So, and I dabble with the drums. I'm pretty good at drums too. Like I'm kind of like, I don't want to say I'm a multi-instrumentalist. My instruments are bass, guitar, and my voice and singing. That's what I'm good at. I'm okay with drums. I'm okay with keyboard a little bit. Matt is a straight up pure guitarist, and he's damn good. I learned a lot from him over the years. He's a damn good guitar player. I mean, he had a lot of self-doubt about himself, but he's damn good. But this album, A Matter of Life and Death, is why him and I were elevated to where we were at. This band, Iron Maiden. Matt went down avenues of Metallica and Megadeth, and then so did I. And then we all started branching out into classic and progressive rock and 70s rock and Dio and Ozzy and Deep Purple and Jethro Tull and King Crimson, and the list goes on. And then even newer bands like Trivium and Opeth and Amon Amarth and all these different bands who were influenced by Iron Maiden, and the bands that influenced Iron Maiden, we started wrapping our minds and our guitar playing and our shit around that. Like, how's Richie Blackmore play that? How's Jimmy Page play this? How does Tony Iommi play that riff in I with Dio? How is he playing that line in Heaven and Hell? How's he doing that? It sounds amazing. Children of the Sea, what's he doing? Then you listen to Dio and you're like, how is Craig Goldie playing that? How's Vivian Campbell do the solo in Holy Diver? It's insane. Little things like that. It's all because of this band. All because of this band, what they brought to the table. And September was a kick-ass month, and I'm so happy to share it with you guys now on October 4th, 2025, because it just means so much to me that this band is out there chugging away. They're still kicking ass. I love it. I miss Nico so much, but I cannot wait to see. He's going to be involved in the input. The Infinite Dreams book is coming out about all the stuff over their 50-year career from the inception of the band up to 2025. That new documentary film coming out by Universal is going to be out talking about 50 years of Iron Maiden. It's going to be amazing. We need a new documentary. I hope it's like 2.5 hours long, at least 3 hours long. Be amazing. And then after that, I can guarantee you that we're going to hear at some point in time, in 2026 probably, they ended the Run for Your Lives tour in 2025 in August, just a couple months ago, a little over 2 months ago. And they're kicking it off again in May in Greece, in Athens, Greece. So, for 2026. So, we're going to hear something we're going to be getting a new album in 26. We have to be. We have to be getting a new album in 2026. It has to happen. It has to happen. I don't see why it wouldn't happen. It's going to happen. And then, like Rod said on the website, they're not doing anything for 2027. 2027 is going to be an off year for them. So hopefully we get the new album in 2026, or at least a new album announcement in 2026, and then maybe it'll come out in 2027, and then we'll get it. We'll get it then. You know, we'll get to digest the album for a year, and then they'll tour in 28 maybe, and do like these are our farewell shows. We're doing 28, 29, 30. We're done, and I think that's what it'll be. I think that's what it'll be. But anyway, everybody, let me know if there's any Iron Maiden albums that share a birth month with you, and if those albums and their thematics and their album covers and the songs that they talk about tie into your life in any way. Because I find it super interesting and super fascinating. So, as always, everybody, thank you so much for listening to A Matter of Life and Maiden, the podcast of the Beast. I'm Joe Labriola. Everybody take care of yourselves. Up the irons. Long live Eddie and the boys. And remember, Maiden is life, and the rest is history.